Welcome to The Human Experience, a podcast about the stories we live out every day and the importance of championing the vulnerability and courage of the storyteller. I'm your host, Jennifer Peterkin, and it was through my own lived story of experiencing domestic violence that this podcast was created. By traveling the globe and interviewing each guest in person, I am convinced now more than ever that stories have the power to change the world. Thank you for being here. In a world full of noise, to listen with intention is an act of resistance. And it's so nice to be with you today in your home, actually. So thank you so much for hosting this recording today.
Yeah.
I'm really excited to hear about your story. You have changed your life in such a radical way, in a way that most people will never do because of the commitment that it takes to do what you've done. But your life started in a very different place from where you've ended up, as most of our stories do. So tell me about your journey to growing up, football, all of that fun stuff.
Sure. So growing up was difficult. Like a lot of people who suffer from chronic pain, they've had some trauma in my life, but I think everyone has had trauma in their life, especially if you're a child of the 80s. But my parents got divorced very young. I was 4 or 5, right before kindergarten. And then, so that was a difficult transition as a child. My father lived in Philadelphia. My mother lived in Florida at the time. And then remarried a couple times. Both of those guys were alcoholics, abusive, physically, emotionally, mentally, all that good stuff. And I ended up in 5 different elementary schools. Right. By the time I got done, 1 middle school, 3 high schools. So my life was moving around a lot. So what I learned at a very young age was that the way that I would make friends the fastest was through my ability to be athletic. Right. So I was always the most athletic kid anywhere, any school that I went to up until my senior year or up until my sophomore year of high school. And Clint Johnson, he was faster than me, but there were not nobody else. Yeah. But I think I had Clint, I think, made it to the NFL a little bit. He went to Notre Dame. I think I had more contracts than him in the NFL. So, I win.
Right. Yeah.
But,
pretty much.
But anyway, I actually only started playing football as a senior in high school. I didn't play football. I went out my sophomore, junior year when I was in Florida. Because of all my moving, my grades were not good. I was like right on the border there. And so I finally, my senior year, went out for the team, moved back up here to Philadelphia and got moved to fullback. I wanted to be a tailback. The head coach told my dad that I'm not a tailback because I don't have this. And then he shook his hips. But I'm a good dancer. So I don't know. He must have not have seen me on the dance floor. And then, ended up walking on to a small school here in Pennsylvania, Millersville University. I wasn't very good at football. I was a very good athlete. I wasn't very good until the game slowed down for me, which was probably like my junior year. And that year, I actually earned the starting position. Was told 3 days before the first game that I was the starting running back. I was like, that's great. I've put in all this work. I wanted to play in the pros. I knew that I was going to play in the pros from a young age. Step back a minute. My summer before my freshman year of college, I was working out with a guy who was an NFL quarterback. So he just happened to work out at the same gym I was from. He's from this area. And after those 5 workouts, he said to me, he goes, you're pretty good. You can play in the NFL. Like, I always knew that I was, like, from the time I was in 4th grade, I saw it happen on TV and I said, I'm going to do that. I just knew it. So it ended up, my first professional game was against him.
Oh, wow.
There was a guy named Rich Gannon who played for the Chiefs at the time, but he's a Delaware guy. But so ended up that the head coach the night before the first game told the offensive coaches that I was not the starter because I was a walk-on and the scholarship guys were going to start in front of me, which was, I didn't know that until after the second game because I finally asked the coach, my running back coach, who wasn't much older than us. I was like, you're going to tell me why I'm not starting or even playing? I got no carry. I had no carries. Like I was the starter and then I got no carries the first 2 games. And he's like, just hang in there, Espo. I was like, no. You got to tell me or I'm going to quit. I'm going to leave. I'm not going to come back. And then he told me the story I just told you. And I was like, all right, so I'm going to honor my commitment. I'm going to stay here. I'm going to be a role player and I'm going to have to figure out another path to get to the NFL. So, I mean, I would have like 1 or 2 carries a game that year. they'd almost always be a long touchdown, and then I'd never see the ball again. It was pretty wild. And then so my senior year, come back out, and I'm thinking, okay, I'm a senior. I'm going to get more carries than the other scholarship athlete who's younger than me did not. So first game, no carries. Second game, no carries until the end of the first half. Then they finally put me in, and I had 150 something yards that game. The next game I finally started, had like 300 and something all-purpose yards. And then that's when the NFL scouts started, taking notice, and probably had 8 teams work me out by the end of my senior year. Got picked up by the Redskins. Broke my jaw in my first game in 2 places, played the entire rest of the game with a broken jaw in 2 places. So I'm not opposed to pain. Like, I can handle pain. It's just chronic pain. That's another story. Anyway, so they gave me an injury settlement, came back the next year. The Saints signed me, blah, blah, blah. Got my jaw broken again. They cut me, signed me back the regular season, was on the developmental squad, practice squad for about 4 or 5 weeks of the regular season. But at that point, my shoulder was getting so bad, like I couldn't even do a push-up. Like, it's kind of the beginning of like when things stopped healing for me. And so they released me. I didn't try to play after that because I just knew like my shoulder was so banged up. Got my first shoulder surgery then, ended up all told like 15 different surgeries. 5 of them were shoulder surgeries, and nothing was helping. Like, none of it was improving, like little slight bits of improvement. But I went from being like literally the most flexible guy on any team, any school, any sport, anything, to like losing mobility. And it was, not great, but I just, like everybody else, well, I guess this is just aging. This is just old age.
Yeah.
And so years and years went on of me just not eating properly, like not knowing what a good diet was, not even knowing that there are certain nutrients that the body must have on a pretty consistent basis to be healthy. And then I end up, now I'm into my 30s, we'll talk, and then, starting to get a little more stiffer, then 35 happens, and I tear my ACL, have my last surgery on my knees. And then so things just started really, really going south when I started my energy brokerage, because what I was doing at that point was just eating a ton of pizza. And we talked about how, I was eating like 2 pizzas a day, maybe 3 times a week. And then what was going on is, now that I can look back, is it was overwhelming my lymphatic system because I was under this constant state of inflammation. And then I was just filling up with lymph and filling up and filling up. And then so now I'm having really tough time, like just getting out of bed. I'm sweating all the time, doing like all sorts of weird stuff. And then that's when I found some Netflix shows that I thought were going to heal me, which turned out to do the opposite. So you should never get your health advice from Netflix.
I have to ask, what were they?
It was Fat, Sick, and Nearly Dead, which was about juicing, right? And we talked about juicing spinach and how dangerous that can be. And the other one was Forks Over Knives. So also talked about juicing, the Gerson therapy, and things like that. And so while it did give me an amazing short-term benefit, what I didn't realize is because of juicing beets, spinach, and Swiss chard, and also switching to almond milk, there's a little molecule in these plants that basically are designed to damage the thing that's trying to eat it. And it's called oxalic acid. And oxalic acid turns into kidney stones in your soft tissue. A lot of women have to get hysterectomies because of them. And doctors, I've had friends who have had oxalate problems as well. And you talk to them, and like the doctor's like, yeah, we have to do surgery in like 3 or 4 years. I was like, well, you can also just take high doses of lemonade, add calcium citrate, and it'll dissolve those things down and pull them out of your body. So which one do you want to do? This kind of natural solution to have the body remove them, or you want a doctor to go in there, start digging around, causing more inflammation? Definitely not going to get all of it. It's probably not only in that particular area. If you've got it, it's widespread throughout your body. So when you do these cleanses, they're pretty wild, because what happens is all these like kidney stones literally come out through your pores. So the first time I did it, it looked like I was laying on the beach, and I had all this sand on my shoulders and on my chest, and all these little tiny ones came out. But then the last one I did a few years ago, I had a giant rock come out of my chest, and you'd seen that on my Instagram. But they damage you in so many different ways, not only physically, but metabolically. They slow down certain processes that are involved in the healing process, the collagen building process. And just absorption of iron. They actually steal hyaluronic acid away from the soft tissue.
Oh.
So it makes them not glide as smoothly. So a lot of problems. So anyway, I just started kind of, right before my second son was born. About 3 months before he was born, I was 265 pounds, completely immobile. It felt like my entire body was lit on fire internally. I describe fibromyalgia, or at least what I was feeling. It's like skinning your knee, but internally all the time. It's a constant gravel scratch internally. And so I said, I'm going to fix this. I just said it out loud to the universe. I said, I'm going to fix this. And so I started stretching for about a year, got nowhere. And then I realized that, well, the things that are binding me together are held closely by these chemical bonds that are hard to break. Like collagen bonds, the chemical bonds that hold collagen together, once that chemical bond sets in, it's 7 times stronger than steel. Okay, so your chiropractor's not going to be able to break through you. Massage definitely isn't going to. Foam rolling and stretching and the stuff that I was doing, you need something that's going to weaken and break the chemical bond so then it breaks open. And then once it's broken open, the body can start breaking it down even further. Slowly, right? Like sandpaper, it's not chunking off like, big parts of a glacier. It's slowly breaking these things down even further, but you need to break that chemical bond first before the body has an opportunity to do that. And so the things that are causing the problems is like it's inflammation, which leaves behind a fibrin, which is a tough, insoluble protein that bends and is like a viscoelastic polymer. It's like a plastic water bottle. So it moves with you and cracks as you move, and you think your joints are cracking, but it's like that water bottle that you squeeze. Same exact things happening. And then when that inflammation occurs, a collagen response occurs, and that collagen's not going to be built with the right ingredients. So that's going to become like super glue. Right. And then you're going to have oxidative stress in that area because you're damaging all that soft tissue, have all these free radicals. That's going to cause a different type of problem, all in the same area. So it becomes this just like soup of junk that happens because like one thing goes wrong and then you haven't been feeding yourself correctly. So the concept is how are these things held together? What are the chemical bonds holding these things together? And what are the natural ways to cleave that chemical bond? And it's either mechanically or chemically. There's only 2 ways to do it. And so that's what's in my supplement, are these natural supplements that cleave the chemical bond of what I've labeled as the major pain makers, which is the fibrin, the collagen, the oxidative stress, calcification, oxalates, glycation, and I think that's it. Poor hydration as well. Like I have hyaluronic acid in my supplement, so it's going to hold on to more water, so your muscle fibers glide more smoothly against one another. So that's the concept. Break down the pain makers, don't let them occur, and create a healthy cell. Those are the main concepts behind the whole thing. And then what you'll find is pain starts disappearing. It just starts going away, because once these things start degrading, they stop activating the pain receptor. And pain receptors is where pain comes from. It's not dysregulation. It's not a messed up nervous system. Your pain receptors are part of the nervous system. They're being activated by hard tissue. Let's soften up that hard tissue.
That's so much information.
I know. So rewind, go listen again, and Google a bunch of stuff.
Yeah, exactly.
That's all I would do when I would listen to my podcast to learn this stuff. Yeah.
So we got out of the NFL.
Yeah.
When were you diagnosed with all of your other health issues?
So I'd have to. So my chiropractor is the one that diagnosed me with fibromyalgia. The surgeons were the ones that diagnosed me with degenerative arthritis and needing the joint replacements. So, God, what years? I mean, it's probably around 39 to the 42 age range, because around 43 or so, 42, 43 is when I decided to really start like attacking it.
Yeah.
So, yeah. But I had been diagnosed with all sorts of other things before that. So I stopped playing football at like 24, maybe, right? So I had all this time. Now, I was not treating my body well all that time. I was out dancing till 3 a.m. and, still playing rough touch football, but not allowing myself to heal in any way. Really healing. The body heals at 20 plus hours of fasting. Like that's it. Like it's not healing any other time. It's in cell division mode until it's not. And so you're either in a fed state or a fasting state. And the fasting state is when your body starts healing. And 20 hours was when autophagy starts. And that's when those enzymes start looking for these misfolded proteins, protein aggregates, things that are related to like dementia and chronic pain. And it starts cleaving them so the body can get rid of them.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I think it's really interesting. First of all, I have a question that I want to go back to.
Go ahead.
You had your jaw broken twice.
Yeah.
Is that a common injury in
No.
football?
It's actually very uncommon.
Okay, because
So-
that's
So
I
the
don't
way
know a
it
lot about
happened-
football,
Yeah.
but
So the way it happened, so I was running down on kickoff. I'm in Kansas City and I'm geeked. You know, it's my first play ever in the NFL. And I'm the first guy down there because I was definitely in the top 3 fastest guys on my NFL team. And so much further down, and I see 77. And so just on his number alone, you know, he's a big guy. It's an offensive lineman's number. And I'm like, all right, and I'm going to dip him and get past him and go make the tackle or at least disrupt the, you know, whatever. So I dipped him. He put his helmet right up underneath my face mask. And I mean, just every tooth on the left-hand lower side of my jaw was pointed toward the right side of my jaw.
Oh my God.
And then the right sort of canine twisted. So it broke it there and it broke it over there. And I didn't fall down. I stayed in the play. I chased the play down, continued to play the rest of the game with a broken jaw. And then at the very end of the game, they were going to put me in to run a couple plays. And I was like, I don't think I can go in, coach. My face was just, you know, swollen. And then the next year, I mean, I was beating this guy all year. And he was an undersized linebacker who was really good at covering running backs out of the backfield, but he couldn't cover me. And so one day he got frustrated. We had no helmets on and we were practicing. And as I blocked him out of the hole, I gave him a little extra push at the end there, but you know, nothing crazy. And as I was walking away, he tagged me right in my jaw, click right in the same spot. And I spun around like Bugs Bunny. I wish I would have it on film because I just, you know, didn't even see it coming. And I was like, oh shit, like that's the end of my career. Like, cause I knew it was broken again.
Yeah.
And I know like when you do something twice in the NFL, it's hard to come back from. Fortunately, I did come back, but that's when my shoulder was just so banged up.
Yeah.
Like I was not able to, I was an undersized fullback. I'm truly a tailback. I mean, I ran a 4.27 in the 40. I'm consistently a 4.4 guy. Currently I'm last year I was a world ranked master sprinter. I haven't run this year to have a world ranking, but you know, I was fast, but they had me at the wrong position.
That's so interesting.
Yeah.
I also thought it was interesting that you said you knew that you were going to be in the NFL, and to have something be such a short part of your life in terms of time.
Yeah.
I'm sure impact it's not, but in terms of time, what was that like to know that something was going to happen, have it happen, and then for it to be just a few years?
Yeah. So so the first time I knew that I was going to play in the NFL, I was in 4th or 5th grade. I remember walking out of my house. My stepfather had a game on at the time. I saw a running back do something and I was like, I can do that. Like it's like, and so then I didn't have that thought again, but I don't know, it was just always there. But yeah, so I didn't grow up as a football player. So it wasn't as impactful to not be a football player as it was to not be somebody who can move, right? Movement was my superpower, right? So in sports, I was fast, I was flexible, I had better movement than everybody. After my sports career, I was Mr. Club guy. I was dancing around. Dancing was my superpower, right? I didn't even have to try. And, you know, girls would come dance with me and it was fun. And then I lost all of those things. And it was very humbling to have that happen. So once again, being an atheist, right? And thinking that I'm so great and then being humbled and then going through this process that I went through, still thinking that I'm the one coming up with all of this, but I honestly felt like I was a vessel for the universe, God, whatever your belief system is, whatever that looks like. Things came to me in ways that I can't like explain.
Yeah.
You know, like I was at an event for my energy brokerage. We got invited. Shell was an energy supplier that we use, and their top brokers were invited to, you know, this place in the Ozarks, and, golfing and all that fun stuff that we do. Everyone got food poisoning. And I was like, okay, why did they get food poisoning? And I thought, was it the pineapple, right? I immediately thought of the pineapple. The pineapple had to be served in order for me to think it was pineapple. I had to qualify for the event. They had to decide to have it at that location. And then something inside of me says pineapple contains bromelain, right? And so at this point in my whole journey, I'm blaming everything on your fascia and your collagen. Didn't even know what inflammation or fibrins were at the time. And I was like, pineapple contains bromelain. Like, what is that? What is bromelain? I don't even know where the thought came from. So I'm like, bromelain is used as a commercial meat tenderizer in livestock. And I was like, I had a tear come out of my eye. I was like, how did that just fall on my lap? Right? Like, I'd never heard of this thing. And I said, well, if it's breaking down fibrosis, fibromyalgia, it's all related to inflammation in farm animals, then why am I not trying it? So I got pineapple powder, basically contains the same enzyme. And that's what's in my supplement. One of the things in my supplement. Started using it, and all of a sudden, click, 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 click. I was like, oh my God, like, this is amazing. This is great. And so then you start researching it, and you're like, okay, well, why is it working? And you're like, oh, it's working because it's donating an electron to the fibrin, and that causes it to cleave, and then the body breaks it down. So things like that. I mean, gosh, there's other like just ways that like I was, out meditating at the river over here about a year or so ago. And, there's this one star, Arcturus, that I like really kind of meditate on. And this sounds silly, but I open up my TikTok after I'm done, and the first video was on a herb called Chianca piedra, which is the stonebreaker herb. It breaks down oxalates, right? Now, I had heard of this herb before, forgotten about it. It's such an obscure thing for it to be the first video after I'm asking the universe for wisdom, for it to show up. I was like, oh my God, I forgot about this thing, and went and bought it and had another like good response from my body. Like, you could tell was more than what was happening from the protocol I was on at the time. And so it's just like little sort of things started happening. And then like I said, the two reasons why I stayed away from religion proved to be two of the major reasons that people are in chronic pain. So I don't want to say I was chosen for something like this, but it feels like, maybe I've opened myself up for that, right?
Sure.
Seek and ye shall find, ask and it shall be given. If I didn't open myself up to this possibility, then it wouldn't have flowed through me. I don't know, like, hey, you're the chosen one. It's just we're just vessels that when we tap into whatever we're tapping into, it becomes available to us. And then so you go back to the diagnosis, and most people are going to say, okay, I got my diagnosis and I'm done. This is it. This is what I have. And it's a genetic thing. And I was predetermined for this. And that's all nonsense. The diagnosis is many people's death knell. It's like, do not accept your diagnosis. It's just a reason for a doctor to be able to move to the next step, which is surgery or medication, right? Until that diagnosis happens. But you'll find that most of these diagnoses are the same exact thing. So chronic regional pain syndrome is the same thing as arthritis, right? Ankylosing spondylitis is the same thing as arthritis. It's just in the spinal column, right? Plantar fasciitis is everything with itis is just inflammation, just in a different area of the body. It's called different things to keep us confused. And then you have all these other things that they're now giving you labels for that are still related to the event that's happening because you're under such inflammation, but you're having like, memory issues. So they're going to give you another diagnosis for that. Well, that's because you're having so much inflammation in the brain that you're having problems remembering things, or you're not, eating a healthy diet. It all kind of comes down to the same sort of 5 or 6 things that are happening within the body, and they're giving it 900 different names.
Yeah.
So
overcomplicating something that
to keep you in the system longer.
Sure.
Yeah.
So, I mean, you get these diagnoses, and you've obviously been out of the NFL for a while. You're doing your thing. You get these diagnoses. How long is it that until you have kind of this, I have to do something about this or nothing is going to change?
Oh, yeah. I mean, I think I mentioned it before. It was like 3 months before Dane was born, 3 months before my second son was born. I mean, I was, like I said, 265 pounds. I couldn't move. I'm trying, I'm still going to the gym and trying to break through things. And I was just like, I got to fix this. Like, I'm going to fix this. I don't remember exactly what I said, but I said it out loud. And I think me saying it out loud kind of made it real to the rest of the universe. And, you know, I just felt that the body healed. I was like, I'm a piece of biology, right? It's not like welded into place. Like it's, this thing is constantly changing. So I need to create a healing environment. It's a problem was I didn't know what a healing environment was. And that actually sent me down the Netflix path and the superfoods path and like thinking like, oh, these superfoods and, beets and spinach but you don't even know why they're called superfoods. And when you realize they're not superfoods at all, they contain very little nutrient density that are bioavailable to humans. And then all plants have some degree of a plant defense chemical. Everything, because they don't have claws and teeth.
Yeah.
They don't want to be eaten. They want to keep moving. So, and especially things like spinach, the red stuff is where you're going to find most of your problems. It's almost like nature's way of saying, don't eat this except for strawberries. So, but the red stuff in the plants and, the leaves and things like that, that's where most of the toxic stuff is. So, yeah.
There's so much information out there, which you've already kind of alluded to with your Netflix journey. How did you even begin to walk down this path and not get so incredibly frustrated and just throw up your hands and say, forget it? Because I feel like that is what a lot of people do.
Yeah, I think I got lucky early. Like things started working early. Like once again, I was able to ask the right questions. Now, whether that was fed to me or not, but I'll go through this sort of step by step. I'm 265 pounds. I can barely walk. My knees are the size of softballs, both of them, because 8 months before I had been playing baseball with some friends and the swelling never went down. And I'm walking around and I see a friend of mine and she's like, Dan, what's going on? I says, my knees. She goes, well, you should rub castor oil on your knees. Now, I've taken no advice from anyone in my entire life up until this point. Nobody. Right. So, but I started doing the foam rolling thing and thinking, and I'm telling everyone, you need to foam roll. And I'm like, you got to start foam rolling. Like there's something, I don't know what it is, but she's looking at me the same way as I'm telling people they need to foam roll. And I'm like, all right, I'm going to do this stupid castor oil. And I thought she was trying to get me into an MLM because everybody's doing essential amino acids or essential oils at the time. And she's like, I'm like, okay. So I go and I buy the castor oil. Face is swollen. I'm sweating all the time. I'm losing my hair. All this bad stuff's going on. My knees are swollen, puffy. Put the castor oil on, about a shot glass worth. I heat it up on the stove a little bit, take a paper towel, rub it on my lymph areas, just skin, my knees. The next morning I wake up, and this was at night before I went to bed. The next morning I woke up, my knees were completely fine. Like I was able to walk fine, like it got rid of all that lymph. Lymph is a byproduct of the inflammation process, right? It's the cleanup. It's the junk that the white cells are cleaning up. So because I had so much puffiness meant I was in a constant state of inflammation, right? So now, and so the swelling goes down. I can finally see my face again. Like that, it literally I was blowing stuff out of my face for the next 3 days. I would have just all this crap was coming out of my face. So I cleaned up my lymphatic system, like just with that one application. So anybody that's like, vibration plates and lymphatic massage and all this kind of stuff, that stuff may work, but you're going to want to use the castor oil first because that's going to get in there and at the chemical bonds, start breaking these things down. So now I'm like, okay, now I've got half of the month where I have a clear head, where I had maybe 1 or 2 days before that. The next thing I did was I'd gone to a baseball game. Dane was born. He was probably 4, 5, 6 months at the time. And go to a baseball game. I had 1 or 2 beers. I felt like crap. I felt like this acidity in my body. I was like, maybe I'm acidic. I just, I don't know why I asked that question. I sent Kate to go get me some of that essential water. I drank some of it and I felt better. Now, I don't know if that actually was helping with my acidity or just whatever happened. I was like, I need to learn about proper hydration. So I go and I find a podcast with Dr. Mercola, who was the first Facebook labeled quack because he was a functional medicine type of doctor, right? And Dr. Zach Bush, he's a very spiritual Christian guy, and he's a naturopath now as well. But they were talking about proper hydration at the cellular level. So that's when I started thinking, well, what if I just make cells healthy, right? And so I started drinking better water and, which means mineral water coming into the cell wall. The next thing in Dr. Mercola's series was on red light therapy. I was like, oh, well, that helps with your cells as well, the mitochondria. So I would go to a place and I would start doing red light therapy, and I would walk out of it and I'd get 1 or 2 clicks and a little bit of looseness. I was like, oh, wow, that's working. Why is it working? And so for 2-3 years, I was trying to figure out why that was working. I finally figured it out. It's literally photons break the chemical bonds of these things, but you're also creating a sulfur response. Sulfur helps break down the bad collagen. So anyway, there's the science behind why red light works. And then, so the same person who told me about the castor oil says, you should do a 3-day fast. I had been doing intermittent fasting before. And so she challenged me to a 3-day fast. And I was like, all right, I'm going to do it. And then on day 2, click, 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 click. I was like, oh gosh, what is happening? Like something is starting. And so what it turns out, and I thought it was a sulfur response, but really I think it's that enzyme response from the liver. But I was telling myself it was sulfur at the time. And then I started going into a whole sulfur regimen, which made me nuts. It was like my nuts year. I had a really bad year of anxiety because I was doing sulfur. I can't clear sulfur out of my system well, creates massive anxiety in me. For most people, it'll do the opposite, but it's super effective in like an Epsom salt bath, creating a sulfur response in the body. That sulfur then breaks down your bad collagen. Right. And then you start having like loosening up like very, very quickly. If you do have a bad reaction, if you do CoQ10 and glutathione, it will get rid of the sulfur in your body quicker and your anxiety, depression stage will be less. But I literally went through maybe a year and a half where I was doing that, and I was causing a lot of disruptions in my family, in my social life, in my work, everything, because I just thought I had all these external stressors. Turns out I was doing it to myself internally, plus all the pain and stuff that I was in. So, and then it just kept like, somebody threw up on pineapple. And so I just got lucky, and then, what were the other things? Oh, the cell wall thing, and that's the latest thing that I've discovered was, the omega-6 to omega-3 ratio. It's just, I'm curious, I'm driving and I'm like, I don't know as much as I should about omega-6s and omega-3s. And I hear about it. So let's find out why they're important. And then it says something in ChatGPT and you're like, hey, talk about that a little bit more, talk about that a little bit more. And then you realize that most Americans are building these highly inflammatory cells. And so, that's probably where all the problems are coming from.
Yeah.
So yeah. But yeah, it's just a lot of falling forward, few mistakes, mostly falling forward. I mean, with the oxalates, my son, if it wasn't for my son in all of this would have never happened, but he would require me to sleep with him next to his crib at night, which I think is a crime. We should all sleep with our children in the bed until they're a certain age. But initially we started doing that, and I would listen to Dr. Mercola's podcasts. The one on oxalates came out. Sally K. Norton, everyone follow her. She's the queen of oxalates. Was going to talk about oxalic acid. And I was like, that doesn't apply to me. I don't even know it sounds like a biochemistry thing. And I got a C- in college biology. So never even got to chemistry. And so I was like, you know what? I'm going to listen to it anyway. And because I had always been acupuncturing myself already, I had been coming across these oxalates, not knowing what these things were. I would feel them in my muscles. And then she started talking about it. It's like, oh my God, yeah, I choose spinach. I choose beets. I was choosing Swiss chard. I'm doing almond milk. That's what all these things are. And that's when I started doing the cleanse. When I did that initial cleanse is when the biggest response happened, because you broke down so many of these oxalates. I was getting all this muscle twitching, which is a good thing. It means you're getting energy and oxygen back into the muscle, right? It's most people see a muscle twitch. They think that they got some disease. It's no, you're reactivating your muscle. So massage it, do something, kind of help that area. And then from that point on, I mean, things just were just lined up for me. I mean, I literally got lucky, but it's like, everybody's like, hey, here's the reason why for fibromyalgia. And there's no one reason for fibromyalgia. There's no one reason for chronic pain. There's multitude of reasons and a couple different ways to break them down. So if you learn what the reasons are, right? And so the reason doesn't leave behind the damage. The reason is the reason, whatever it is. It's you eat poorly, you had a car accident, you had mold disease, Lyme's disease, It can be anything that causes the initial inflammation response. That's where you want to start, is how's the body responding to what is going in my body. And because we're 75% of our food is highly processed, most of the stuff we put in our body is garbage. Like it literally cannot process it, and it creates little bits of inflammation every time we put one of these bad foods into our body, every single time. And every inflammation event comes with a collagen response, and you're not building your collagen correctly. So anyway, I just kept following forward. And so what I did is the UndU method isn't a cure or a diagnosis or treatment, whatever. It's information that is going to teach you what are the main causes of pain, where does pain originate from, right? And all this stuff is backed with third-party NIH published studies. Mm-hmm. Where does it come from? What's causing it? What causes those events to happen? And how do we break these things down at their chemical bonds to then stop aggravating these pain receptors? And that's like the entire concept behind the whole thing. And then we teach you how to build a healthier cell, right? You want to build a healthy cell wall. But it's very simple once you dig into it.
Okay.
Though. Yeah, it really is. I know it sounds like a bunch of science. I'm a dumb football player and I got this figured out. So
No.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think, when people have a direction, the amount of information isn't intimidating. It's more so when you're trying to figure out whether or not something is legitimate or not, because you have people saying the exact opposite things and everyone is insisting that they're right.
Yeah.
And so it's so frustrating as a person just existing to try to get to some sort of truth, right?
Yeah.
So, you lived that truth. You found that truth by experimentation.
Yeah.
Which again is something that not everybody will commit to doing because it's hard. It's not easy. It takes self-discipline.
I don't think anyone else would have done this. I think that's why I was quote unquote chosen for it, because I'm insane. I'm crazy. Like I played 1 year of high school football. I knew I was playing in the NFL.
Yeah.
Like I created an energy brokerage with like no experience in energy. We became a top 100 fastest growing companies in Philadelphia.
Wow.
Like, I do these things that are great. I don't know, maybe it's my trauma as a child. Like, hey, notice me. Look at me. Like, I got, who knows? Yeah. But, it is, I'm super proud of what I've created for other people because I know the frustration of other people. One of the most frustrating things I see is when you see these influencers on social media who are young and have never gone through stiffness and pain. And they tell you, because it's like the person with really great hair. You're genetically, don't tell me that you've got this regimen for great hair. You genetic. Yeah. And so these young people who are like, oh, if you've got hip pain, just twist this way and twist that way and it'll go away. Well, no, it's not, because the things that are holding this together are stronger than steel. So it's not going to happen if you just twist this way and twist this way. You need things to actually happen, and you need to have it rooted in a scientific evidence, or no one's going to trust it. So part of my, the process of me, why it took so long to put this together, is because grandma can't tell you what to do without you trying to find out, okay, does grandma have any scientific evidence behind her telling me to go hug a tree? And you find all the scientific evidence, and then you do these things intentionally because now you know why they're working. I'm going to talk about breathing through your nose real quick to make it like my point. I don't breathe through my nose well. Once again, one of the things as a child that I was impacted by, a doctor said, do you breathe through your nose or do you breathe through your mouth? Second grade, I've held on to that and wondered why he asked me that up until adulthood. And it turns out when you breathe through your nose, which I don't do that well because I'm always stuffed up. So when you breathe through your nose, your body will take an amino acid called L-arginine and convert it to nitric oxide. So when you have nitric oxide in your bloodstream, and it only lasts 2 or 3 seconds in your body when you breathe through your nose. So it's this constant flow that you need happening. Those fibrins that form, it disrupts their formation. It prevents their formation from happening by basically not allowing those chemical bonds to bind together. So if you are eating pizza and you're breathing through your nose, and I'm eating the same pizza and I'm not breathing through my nose, I'm going to have more chronic pain and stiffness because of the breathing through your nose the other person is doing, right? So it's just like knowing little things like that. Like does acupuncture work? Well, a lot of people have tried acupuncture when they have chronic pain. It doesn't work, so they've given up on it. It's because you're doing it wrong. You need to do dry needling, and you need to find the stiffest, most tender, painful points of your body and have your acupuncture that area. And you're going to feel that pop open. You're like, okay, acupuncture does work. I've just been doing it wrong. I do drink enough water. Are you drinking water that's got mineral content in it? Or are you drinking acidic water that has no nutritional value to you whatsoever, right? So it's like, let me put these things together in a very simple way to understand, but with the science that backs it up. And here's the result you should expect.
Yeah.
So.
I think my own personal experience with this, but also hearing from others, is that once you find something that, I don't know, once you find an explanation for something that makes you feel less crazy about where you've been in your journey, and like that you're not the only one, and that other people are struggling with this too.
Yeah.
Because as common as it is, it's largely not talked about. Right. And so,
well, it's quote unquote misunderstood.
Okay.
Right.
Yeah.
So that's what doctors will tell you. We just don't understand it well enough yet. It's like, well, every scientific piece of evidence is available to you to figure it out.
Yeah.
It's actually very simple. They're just not taught that, and they're not allowed to talk about that.
And that was going to be another question for you. Yeah. Alternative modalities are becoming increasingly popular as people have resources to look things up for themselves, and people are disseminating information at rates higher than ever before.
Yeah.
So,
but we've got how many videos out there telling you
Please.
different things. And so that was my, and I got sucked into that trap as well. But like, and I'm not going to say that I have the end all be all solution, but what I have put together, it can be added to. You cannot dispute it. You can try to dispute it. There's no possible way that you can dispute anything that's in my method to be effective, or that it is or is not effective. I know it's effective. There's tons of research, not just one study for each one of these things, tons of studies. The science is the science, right, with these things. So it's just applying it to your life, and like, which piece of it talks to you more? Were you a keto, big, bacon eater? Maybe that's your problem. Maybe you didn't have Lyme's disease, and they're going to cause two different reactions within the body. But you have to be aware of both of them, so you can kind of test each one of them out to see what protocol might be helpful for you.
Sure.
Yeah.
Yeah. I think it's really interesting. I think it's really great that there's more availability, and that people are able to find answers to things that previously it really was largely like, this is just your life.
Yeah. And let me make it even easier for people, because studying my method or my playbook sounds overwhelming because you're hearing me talk about it. It's way easier than how I'm probably jumping from topic to topic here. But if you try the supplement targets just about everything that I've talked about in some way. It works for many people, and I can't really say what it's doing, or, I can tell you the science behind it, but I can't make claims. Say that it works for many people within the first day.
Wow.
Because these things are actively searching out what it's targeting, right? Some people, I've had, another friend who has fibromyalgia pretty bad. I didn't hear from her for 2 weeks. I was sweating. I was like, oh my God, this isn't working for her. What's going on? Like, I don't hear from her. And then finally at 2 weeks, she's like, Dan, you're a genius. This is the first time anything's ever worked for me. But I'm like, why'd you wait so long? Because I didn't really notice it till now. It's like, okay. Then there's the people. So I got a buddy who I was surprised he bought it, because he's not the kind of guy who's like in chronic pain, but he's having some shoulder issues, which are very localized. And so 30 days or so later, I call him up. I didn't hear from him. And once again, I'm like, I don't want my friends to think I'm selling them snake oil,
Sure.
And as I call him, he tells me this later, as he's reaching for the phone, thinking like, oh, I didn't call Espo to tell him, what I thought of his supplement. He notices shoulder pain was gone. When it goes away, you don't know it goes away.
That's
because
very true.
you're not reminded of it. It's like an old friend just leaves, like ghosts you, and you're like, oh, wait, where'd that person go? A few days later, and you're like, oh, I don't have that. And that I told that story to the president of my NFL PA chapter. And he goes, dude, come to think of it, I had my arm around my girl all night last night. I can only have it there for a few minutes at a time because I get a burning in my arm, which I completely understand that, because when, I would have to turn over, Kate, I'd want to hug, I'm a cuddler, but I couldn't, I'd have to have two pillows underneath my back and I'd be turned around the other way. And if I tried to put my arm around her, within 30 seconds, it felt like I was being stabbed with an iron. It was painful. So, and then, there's a handful of people who's like, I didn't really notice anything, but that's, less than 5% of people. So if you want something that say might work, but I think it's give you the best option of working, if you try the supplement and that starts working for you, get into the method and start applying the rest of the things to your life, because it's just going to speed it up.
Yeah.
Right. The supplement can work on its own, right? Without you going into the method and making all these crazy changes to your life. But if you make these changes, things are going to happen for you way more quickly than if you don't.
Yeah. So you had briefly mentioned the name, but I don't think we actually talked about you call it the UndU method.
Oh, the UndU method.
Yes.
So it's UNDU, undu.me is the website. That name came very, very early. Years and years ago, because I heard two people talking to Dr. Mercola about undoing something. I was like, oh, that's what I want. I want to undo.
Yeah.
But I have these Eastern philosophies in there as well. So it's kind of an homage to Hindu, right? So it's like Easter, because the breathing and the meditation and the grounding, plus the science behind all that stuff, is in the program as well. So I just thought it was a kind of a cool play on words, undo me. So yeah.
Undo me. I like it. Yeah, no, it makes sense. You very much goes with the theme of everything that you're talking about.
Yeah. And I don't expect everybody wants to be a world-ranked master sprinter, but just the other day I was tying my shoes and I was thinking, I don't have pain tying my shoes.
Yeah.
It's like, just that is a huge win,
Yeah.
Yeah.
I feel like there's so much that can be said, and I'm sure you've had all of these conversations with people about just lifestyle and, lack of movement and lack of being able to move, and just accepting it, feeling like that's just the way that life is.
Yeah. And the problem with lack of movement is that your collagen is building itself, reforming itself, reshaping itself every second of the day. Always, constantly. And I don't know if you ever had like the regular phones where you'd put it to your ear and you'd get that stiff neck.
Sure.
That's how fast collagen sets in, right? So if we're in chronic pain and we're not moving, that collagen is still setting in and it's still pulling itself tight, and those bonds are setting in. And so you're becoming stiffer and stiffer over time by resting things, but then by moving, you're creating more pain, and it's like, what do I do? And it literally becomes like a prison of stone, like it's a body prison for you. And until when you have that first thing break open, the crack, you get hope.
Yeah.
And then that hope is like, okay, well, if that happened, what else can happen? And then, like I was saying, yesterday, I didn't want to go to the gym. It's, the sun's not out. And, I get seasonal affective disorder. If I look at DNA as part of the things I look into, my vitamin D receptors are both very slow, right? And so I was just like, you know what? I gotta go to the gym. I gotta go. And as soon as I walked in the gym, I was happy I was there. And then a giant chunk, like one of the biggest chunks of stuff, released from my shoulder. And I was just like, thank God I came today, because that might not have happened. It would have eventually happened, but it's making my days less painful. I don't want to say it's painful. It's more annoying at this point than painful, but it becomes a lifestyle of like, what else can happen? And then when you start realizing that you're more than likely doing this to yourself with your food and your diet, your medications, just lifestyle, then you switch your life to like, my hobby is health. My secondary career, whatever you want it to be, however you want to label it, is health. And then when you slow down to the speed of nature, and you stop eating manufactured foods, and you stop putting yourself in front of technology all the time, and you have a better relationship with the earth around you, it becomes more intrinsic to your soul, if that makes sense, right? It's like, you don't feel like you're missing out on all this other stuff.
Sure.
The latest episode of American Idol or whatever people watch. I don't even watch TV anymore, but whatever it is, it's like, once you start valuing health and nature and quietness and stability a little more, you become healthier. But it also, when you're becoming healthier, you value those things more as well. So it's like shutting down the noise so you're not affected by the noise so much. I don't know. I haven't really thought that out, but they work, it's like you got to have one to have the other, but you got to do them kind of at the same time.
Sure. I think it's difficult because there's so much all of the time. There's so much noise all of the time.
Yeah.
And so to opt out in any, there's no opting out in a permanent way, right? You can't. You're not part of life then if you're not.
Yeah.
We don't have the privilege of all just not having jobs.
That's the weird balance you got to figure out is good for you. Because at first I just wanted to withdraw from it all. And I mean, once you kind of get red pilled or whatever you want to call it, and you realize that this pain and damage and mental health problems are probably been pushed upon us in an intentional way, because a society that's weak and controllable is much better for their government than if they're having good thoughts and full of spirituality and energy. So, so the food balance, I think, is the first thing that, don't beat yourself up on, like, oh, I'm not at the top of the mountain. Like, I know where the top of the mountain is. I'm not looking to achieve it, right? I just want to be on the mountain, And so what that means is I've put on the bowling alley, I've put the bumpers out. I'm not going in the gutter, but the food I bring into this home, like 90% of it is healthy, whole foods, grass-fed, organ meats, organic fruits and vegetables. When I leave this home, I'm just going to eat what's there. I can't make myself that crazy person out in society.
Sure.
So I had pizza the other day. I had ice cream the other day, but now I know that I'm not going to have ice cream for another 3-4 weeks, so I still indulge a little bit, but I was at the point where I was having 3 blizzards a week. And that's probably 10 times the amount of sugar you're supposed to have.
Yeah.
And I think, but I'm running around, I'm healthy. I'm like, you can't health that out. You have to avoid it. There's no combating those things, right? You're still putting that sugar in your body. It's still causing an event that's happening in your body that takes a huge amount of effort to reverse, so it's better to just not put it in there in the first place.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So you're a sprinter. You've said that a couple of times. So this has been more than a decade journey for you in all of this.
Yeah.
When did that come back into play?
Sprint running?
Well, I mean, you've mentioned that you kept going to the gym, but in terms of competing.
Yeah. So at the beginning of the process, when I thought it was going to be much shorter, is when I started back competing. So So 2000, where are we? 25? 2022 is when I was a national champion. The year before that, I think I came in second in regionals. So it was the year before that is when I first started. But in that first race, I had a problem. I got a video up. I thought I pulled something, but I think things came apart, meaning that a lot of glue kind of came apart. I had this really weird reaction in my leg. I was first, and then I ended up coming in second because at the very end of that race, I, blew something out, but didn't. It was very weird. But then I'd go back and I'd look at those videos and I'm like, oh, I look so stiff. I feel like I'm not, as bad as I am, but then I look at it. And so as you compete and you have a little bit of success, but, I'm in the middle of the pack in terms of the fastest sprinters in my age group in America. There's the 3 or maybe 3 guys that are faster than me in the individual events. And then me and a couple other guys in that, 3, 4, 5 placement range. And then everybody else behind us. It's I need to want to be on the podium in every single race.
Yeah.
Right. I mean, that's just what I expect. And as I'm getting younger through this process, because this isn't just a pain thing, it's also an anti-aging protocol as well, because they're the same things. What causes stiffness, causes pain, causes aging. They're getting older. I'm getting younger, right? And I did give one of my main rivals a bottle of flexibility fuel, so I probably shouldn't have done that. But
Gotta be a fair fight.
yeah, I mean, and it just becomes now you have this lifestyle because, and I talked to some veterans as well, and it's like, what do you do after sports? Like, what do you do after the military? And you have to find this thing that's going to put your ship in a direction. And to me, I think the best thing that any human can make that is find some athletic endeavor that you're passionate about. It doesn't matter if it's, just climbing up a rock at the, down the street, but then how do you get your body to be the best at what you love? Right. And so if you have those two goals in mind, like one drives the other.
Yeah.
And so for me, not only running, but dancing, movement, because I'm like Charlie Chaplin, I'm Italian, I use my hands and, stuff, and movement was just like super important to me. And it drives your desire to get out of bed and go to the gym on the days you don't want to go to the gym, or making the decision to, instead of having ice cream, I make this, it's cacao powder, raw milk, and colostrum. The colostrum really helps to break, but I want the ice cream. And I don't want to go through the effort of making this thing, but I'm like, you're being lazy and you're not having a good relationship with food. And then when you do it and you make it and then you go to bed at night on your fitted grounding blanket underneath a near-range infrared light and you feel extra twitching happening, you're like, it was worth it to forego the ice cream and make that other still very, dessert tasting like thing, but it's adding benefit to your life. And so like, even in the method, like if you can't afford the supplements, I've got food choices that you can have, and then here are the food choices that are damaging. So even if you're just shopping better, you're going to have better outcomes, right? But I hope everyone tries the supplement.
Yeah.
Like that's really what I want them to do. I mean, that, I know that it works. I call it the world's greatest supplement, like right on the label. I've got videos that I've posted of people who have tried it who are like, I can't believe like how much this is working. But, so I'll just tell you where you can buy it, because I want to get into like what the cost of the program is. You can get it for under $50, right? It can last you 30 to 45 days, depending on how you dose it. Even if it's not helping with your chronic pain, it's helping to make you healthier because of what's in it. Your essential amino acids are essential. Most Americans are deficient in their essential amino acids. Not only does it have a big effect on your muscle health, but also cognitive benefits. And then there's the bee propolis, which is known to be an antiviral, antifungal, antihistamine, like people who have herpes. It works better than the herpes medication to reduce the herpes virus. Benfotiamine, which acts as a precursor to thiamine, which is going to create a coating around your cells so your cells don't respond as much. Alpha lipoic acid, which is a very powerful antioxidant. We're all dealing with oxidative stress. So even if it didn't help, you're not wasting your money by trying this new thing that this guy on the internet says is so effective, right? Because I know that's the thing. Like, I want to try this. I want to try everything. I've created the thing. Like I know that there's some improvements that I can make because there's always new things that I'm learning, but the way that it works is incredible. The program itself, the UndU method, is hosted on a platform called withme.so/undo. For $13.69 a month, you can have access to it. You don't need to have access more than a month. Like you can literally learn everything in that program within a day, a week. You can go back and go screenshot it, whatever. You don't have the money to do it. I'm hoping that if you watch this, you also decide to buy my supplement. Everyone that buys my supplement reorders it because it's great. Okay. So, or you can buy it for $196 and have access to it forever. And I give you a free bottle of flexibility fuel. It's a pretty good deal. You can even just go on my website and buy all the ingredients from Amazon and just bypass me completely. I don't care. Like whatever you need to do to get healthier. But that's my goal, is to find way to allow people to have a path to better health. Yeah. But I hope they buy things from me.
Yeah.
I want to support my family.
We're going to link to you.
Yeah.
We're not going to link to the ingredients. We'll link to you.
Yeah.
So, I mean, I think that's awesome. I think you gotta put it out there, and that's great. And look, people try things all of the time. There's no reason not to try
Yeah.
something new.
Let me just give you one more story about
Please
how
do.
few people that I just thought this would be a bigger hit out the gates than it has been so far. So prior to me creating the program, but knowing that I was going to, and knowing that I was probably going to make a supplement, I was in all the fibromyalgia, chronic pain message boards on Facebook. And I'm one of them, right? I'm in there and I'm trying to help people, and everyone's ornery and nasty. And I get it because we're all in chronic pain. But I thought, like, I'm going to come in here and teach people like some stuff. And I'm going to tell them about my program, and here's a supplement. And all the feedback that I get from these 99% of it is like, you never had fibromyalgia. You cannot cure fibromyalgia. You never had arthritis.
Wow.
You're a snake oil salesman. You're trying to sell us something else. You should be giving this away for free. It's so much negativity. And it hurts my heart because I really am here to help people.
Yeah.
Like, it really, like, I want to go in there and like, just ask me a question about it. Like, hey, Dan, how's it work? Not just, it doesn't work. It's that you're, all this kind of stuff. So that's been the initial reaction. It's only, it's been out 6 months or so, since the summer, maybe a little more. But, all the testing that I had done, like I think I mentioned, is, Navy SEALs, former NFL players, former, 3-time All-American lacrosse players, people with fibromyalgia, chronic pain. And so I stand behind it 100%. I know when someone tries it, that's it. Like, they're going to try it. So that's why I basically give away the method for free. But you can go on to that platform, and I give you the world's greatest shopping list for free, some meal plans. There's going to be workout plans, all this kind of stuff. I'll answer any question that anybody asks. I don't care what it is. If it's, if I don't care to give up the secret sauce, right?
Yeah.
Like, someone's going to buy it and someone's going to helpful. But if you can't afford it, ask me as many questions you want. It's like a Facebook page, this platform. So the world's greatest shopping list there's 4 essential categories: essential nutrients, essential amino acids, essential minerals, and essential fats. There are 90 of them that the body cannot make on its own. Everything else that the body needs can be made from these things. So it tells you where to get them from, like exactly where you need to shop to get these things. So you set your body up in the healthiest position that it can be for faster healing. My supplement is essential amino acid based. So you've knocked that out of the gate right away, right? The nutrients, right? There's 16 of them. Get yourself a methylated multivitamin. You've got them all right there, right? And so, or you can find the foods here. So I give that away for free, workout plans, a bunch of stuff for free, community, talking to other people that are going to be going through this that aren't going to be so negative. I think that's like, I want to build that community as well.
Absolutely.
Because the negativity doesn't drive you forward.
No, not at all. Not at all. I'd say it does the opposite.
Yeah.
But I think it speaks to how strong the messaging is that like, you can't change this. And so what your fight is against that is really an upstream, battle, because you're fighting against doctors and a health system that has said you can't permanently fix this. We can only, delay, manage your symptoms. Or you're dealing with the fitness influencers, which have become very untrusted towards consumers, right?
Yeah, and they also just have to realize there is never going to be a magic pill for this.
Yes.
Because if you understand what the diseases really are, the issues that these bad food choices and trauma and chemicals that they're spraying in the sky, whatever it is, create a cacophony of crap. It's literally like twigs and rocks and glue in your body, and like one medication isn't going to break those things down. It takes like an approach to your health rather than thinking that there's a healing option. It's just the way that you're going to live your life that creates a healing environment within your body.
It's a holistic thing.
100%. Everything
Yeah.
in here is all natural.
Yeah.
100% all natural.
Well, I just
Yeah.
mean it's your whole life. It's not just
a
one thing.
way to approach
Yeah.
it. Yeah. Because there's no one reason that it happens.
Yeah.
And if you think that there is, you're going to be in pain the rest of your life. You're
Yeah.
going to be sick. So,
Yeah. And I think if we're being honest with ourselves, there are a lot of us that have just come to this place of like, it's easier to just accept that this is the way that it is than to actually put in the work to change it.
Yeah. Here's the other thing. Reversing it's not easy either.
Yeah.
I mean, you go through stuff. Like you're going to have bad days, but you're also going to have bad days being in chronic pain all the time. So it's like, which one do I want? Do I want to trend toward health or do I want to trend toward more disease?
Yeah.
And so there's only two ways it can go. It's not going to stay static.
Yeah.
It's going to get worse or it's going to get better. And it takes an effort to make it better. Live the way you've been living, it's going to get worse.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, this is awesome. We will link to all of this in the show notes so people can find it super easy. Thank you so much for your time and your commitment to this. I think it's wonderful and just your commitment to helping people. I think it's very admirable, even if it doesn't feel like it's going very far in the moment. I think, it's kind of like the pain. Maybe you'll look back in the future and realize how big of an impact.
I know. I know that this is all going to work out. Like, I know, like deep in my heart that it's all going to be fine. Just like the NFL, just like my business, just like I was able to reverse this stuff. It's going to happen.
Good.
Yeah. I want more curious people though. I want people to doubt me, but I want you to doubt me and ask me the question so I can educate you.
Right. Not just doubt you and write you off.
Exactly.
Yeah. Yeah, I think that's great.
I want more.
Curious.
Have doctors call me.
Okay.
Have me in touch with their doctor.
You heard that, doctors.
Yeah. Anybody that wants to dispute me on this, I would love to, in a very professional way.
Yeah, sure. Yeah. No, I think it's great. Being open to that is, I think, a huge show of integrity. Yeah. So, great. Thank you for listening to The Human Experience. Everyone has a story, and I'd love to hear yours. So be sure to check out the show notes for more information about how to stay in touch. Do good and love well.